So everyone, and welcome back after a long time for another Let's Talk Idle. This time we're looking at a game called Craftsmith, which is available for mobile phones, but right now it's still a rather early version, I would say, more like a preview version, like an alpha or a beta. So changes are still actively being made and it's not quite released yet. But let's take a look at what this game actually kind of does. So first off, we have just bars filling, which is something you're probably familiar with if you've played a lot of idle games. And basically what the objective of this game is we're someone who wants to craft a whole lot of stuff. So first off, we're getting some wood, turning that wood into arrows, and then we turn those arrows, arrows and some more wood, into bows. And even mahogany ballista at the very end, like the final item. And basically we're using wood, we're using some feathers, we're using some bowstrings. Everything of this needs to be gathered, and then the arrows and the bows, they require a certain amount of materials in order to be crafted. As you might expect, there's of course, you keep doing this and at some point you reset your progress, but you get something in return, and then you do it again, but this time you're way better at it. So let me go over the individual things that this game does. So each individual item that you have, I'm going to just click into this one for example, the cheddar wood. There's a certain amount of items you can stash of these, and every time the bar fills, you will get the power amount of items for it, and that's pretty much like these are the two most important things, like stash and power. There's a lot of other stuff going on that I'm going to go over later, but you keep filling up these bars to get more items, and at some point your stash is full. What do? Well, you can buy upgrades, of course, with these items. So, for example, if I get up to 5,000 of the cheddar wood, I can hire a cheddar lumberjack, which does some stuff for me. I can also improve the training for this item. I can improve the clicker mechanism for each individual type of resource. And then there's research, which isn't the game yet. Like I said, it's still a work in progress. And basically what the goal is of course to craft more items. In order to craft more items, you need to make sure that you get more items first of the base resources like wood, feathers and bowstrings, and then when you craft them into the other items, that you get more of these and you get them faster. There's also a way to increase your stash. So up here we have the workshop, which basically just gives you a bonus to your stash depending on how much stuff you put in storage, or you just contribute resources. Basically it's like throwing resources away, but you get more stash for it. So let's say, for example, I have no use anymore for this oak wood, or I have way too much oak wood, I have way too much surplus. You can then go into the workshop and you stash that, and you get more experience for your workshop, and once your workshop reaches full experience, you get more stash. So that's the way where you increase your stash. And basically this feeds into the sort of game loop that this game has, where you gather more items, you use those items for upgrades, 3 types of upgrades, and if you've got too much of something or you reach stash capacity, then you donate all of that to the workshop and you increase the stash, and with an increased stash you can gather more items that allow you to unlock more upgrades and also increase your stash even more. So it's a sort of self-propagating game loop that increases in intensity over time, if you might say. Like of course numbers escalate in idle games, as you might expect, and this is how the numbers sort of escalate for this sort of game. Now what does the first type of upgrade do? The workers. Basically every time the bar fills, you will get more of the resource depending on how many workers you've got. So that's the first type of upgrade, and probably the most important type of upgrades, to just get more. Just get more of stuff. The second is the training, which makes stuff go a bit faster and gives you more experience. Now what does experience do? 2 things. First off, experience gives you access to talents, which is the reset system, where once you reset, you gain a certain amount of talents based on how much experience you've gained, and that allows you to get permanent upgrades that carry over between runs, as you might expect. Don't need to go into these for too much, but there are a lot of them, so there's a lot of content right there to go through. Although they're very basic upgrades. They don't do anything crazy. It's just, well, you're better now at certain stuff. What else do we have? Also the experience that you get, or just in general, these items that you have, these resources, they gain experience themselves. For example, the more you produce of cheddar for example, you get, this bar slowly fills up, and when this bar is filled up, you get a bonus to your speed. If you get more experience with this item, you get an experience bonus for this item. If you've tapped this item enough times, you get a bonus to your tool. Your tool is basically how strong a click on the item is. What does a click on the item do? Well, clicking on the item makes it go faster, as you can see. And an increase to your tool means that your clicks do more, which is also what increasing this right here does. So you can go in here, contribute resources to increase your tools, and then every time you click on a wood resource, for example with the lumber eggs, it goes a bit faster. Nice. What else do we have? Oh yeah, there's also a bonus for how much you've contributed to the workshop of this particular item, which gives you a bonus to your stash. So this is something already that I really like, where every single thing you do in this game and everything that happens sort of propagates itself. If you contribute something to the stash, it becomes better at contributing to the stash, and it gives more bonus to itself in stash. So, or the more you've clicked on something, the better clicks on that items become. So everything you do in this game propagates itself. That's really great. That's really good. I really like that. So that's basically the core gameplay that you have. There's also achievements that you can get. There's not that many achievements, you don't get them that frequently. And from achievements you gain gold, and gold can be spent to get sort of... There are a few permanent upgrades you can get, for example an auto chopper that clicks every 20 seconds on wood, or an auto grabber that clicks every 38 seconds on feathers, something like that. Or just basic boosts, like this boosts your production for a certain amount of time, or it skips ahead a bunch of times. And of course, real money transaction. I mean, how are you going to keep yourself afloat if you don't have that? But you don't really need those. This is one of those games where you don't really need those at all. The impact from those isn't really that big. And I'm going to go into some pros and cons later. I'm going to talk more a bit about that, but let me keep going about the game loop here. And there's also a bonus modifier you can get to all of the experience you earn up here, the experience boost. Now in order to get this experience boost, you need to watch an ad, which at most takes like 30 seconds. It's somewhere between 15 and 30 seconds watching an ad. Now I'm going to say that games nowadays, mobile games, they're just gonna have ads. You're just not gonna get around them unless they're gonna have a ridiculous amount. Like if the ad itself already costs a certain amount, this is a free app. If the app itself already costs a bit of money, or if it has a lot of real money transactions within the game, like a ton of it, like it's so much, then there might not be that many ads. But usually you're gonna have ads on a free app. But what I like is when the ads actually contribute to the game. Like in this case, if you watch an ad, you get like 2 to 3 hour boost to your experience, which is really good. I like that. I like that it's like, okay, there's gonna be ads, but if you watch an ad, we're at least gonna give you something in return. It's like in Twitch when you were able to watch ads for bits, which they took out, which was really, really stupid. Anyway, I like that. I like that at least. Also, if you've gone offline and you come back, it says, hey, you've earned this much experience, but we can double that for you if you watch an ad. Which is like, yeah, sure, fine, okay, I don't mind that. I really don't mind that. Games are gonna have ads. At least give me something in return for it, and I do get something really cool in return for it. I like that. So now that I've talked about the basic game, I have a sort of list on things that I like and things that I don't like about this game so far. Things that maybe could be improved, because this game is still being developed, and I want to talk about stuff that I personally would change, but of course that's just me. I can't speak for everyone. I can already say it right off the bat. The stuff that I'm going to say is more from like a game design perspective, from someone who values integrity, quality, who likes to play games, because games are fun, and not just fun, but games also have some sort of intricacy to it. Like you can actually, when you play through a game, you'll start thinking differently about the game, and depending on how you think about the game, you will make different decisions. That's why I like platformers, because platformers make it very obvious how much thought you're actually putting into how you play the game. It's not just jump from A to B, especially in stuff like Super Mario games, like Super Mario Odyssey. There's like 10 billion different types of jumps and jump combinations you can do, where the better you get at the game, the more different stuff you can do. And idle games can do that as well. It might not seem like it, but idle games can do that as well. Anyway, that's sort of like where I'm coming from with video games. I like it when video games have depth to them and when they're quite intricate. Of course, when you're trying to reach a broad audience, I'm gonna talk directly to you, Mr. Game Developer, because I know you're watching this. When you're trying to reach a broad audience, the stuff that I'm gonna mention right now, some of it is to make the game more enjoyable for a broad audience, but some of it is just because I like games that are more deep and intricate, you know? An average gamer might not want that. Right off the bat, I'm gonna need to mention that. So first off though, I'm gonna talk about a bunch of stuff that I think everyone's gonna enjoy. Buttons need to stand out. It took me like 2 or 3 hours of gameplay before I even realized there's an info button up there, because the entire UI is brown and silver. Brown and silver, and the only thing that stands out is stuff that is maybe a bit yellow, because yellow just in general stands out a bit, but even the yellow doesn't stand out that much because yellow and brown are quite close to each other. So yellow and brown quite close to each other. The silver does stand out because there's so much silver on screen, nothing that is silver particularly stands out. Also, some of the times these buttons, when you can use them, they light up. They become yellow. I also didn't quite notice that because the background of the button doesn't change. And you can see that on the button right here. The background of the button is also this brown wood texture. If the background also changed, like maybe it can still be a wood texture, but maybe the wood texture is a bit lighter or a bit darker, just different from the background, so the button actually stands out. Right now, like when I think of a UI, I think of like the background is like a surface, and then buttons are like actually 3D objects that are like stuck up on top of it. Like if you imagine you have a keyboard has like a base and then buttons that stick out of it. And that is how I think a UI or buttons in a UI should work, where it kind of feels like they stick out. But with this button, it just feels like there's an outline on the floor. So you have your base and there's an outline on the base, and it doesn't pop out at you. They need to pop out. And I think the best way to do it is to change the background of the button right here. So the wood texture that's like closed in the button needs to have a different tone to it, maybe a bit brighter, maybe a bit darker. And same goes for all of these buttons, for all the buttons in the game, and even this button right here needs to have a different background. And let's say, for example, I'm just throwing ideas around. Let's say this button, for example, has an orange background. Not even this yellow, but like a really orange background. This button's gonna pop out. You're gonna go into this menu, and these buttons are gonna be, you go into this menu and then bam, the buttons pop right into your face, because it's just like so much different from all of the other stuff around it, because there's no orange. There's like, yeah, like yellow and brown, but orange, or like red, that would pop out at you. Don't actually do that, because I don't think informations buttons should like pop out. I don't think they should jump out at you, but you need to go a bit more in that direction, because when I can play this game for 2 hours and I don't even notice the buttons are there, and I wonder, what does this do? What do these things do? And then like an hour later I realize, oh, there's a button you can click that shows it. That's not good. That's not good. They need to pop out a bit more. But don't overshoot. Don't make them pop out too much. Okay? Same for these buttons over here. They need to be more like, they need to be more 3D. So that's the first thing that I would say. Secondly, every time I click on a menu, the menu needs to scroll in, and then when I click away from it, the menu needs to scroll up again. It looks good. It looks interesting. It looks cool when a menu is actually like an actual object. This is not just an ethereal plane that just materializes in front of you and then disappears again. It actually is like a physical object. You can see the chains holding it. It's like you're actually sitting there at a desk, and your secretary comes in and like pops this in front of you, like as an actual thing, which is cool. But it's really tedious how it keeps scrolling in and out, because you're gonna go in and out of menus a lot. You're gonna go into this menu, into that menu, and you see how most of the time I'm spending watching the animation. I'm not actually looking at the menu right now, I'm actually just watching the animation. That's a lot of time spent watching animation. However, you don't need to change this if you make a different change. let me go a bit more about this, because this is also something that I find quite tedious about this game right now. When these buttons light up, which is good that they light up, they should light up when you can do something. That's good game design. When they light up, you have to click into the menu, press the button. Like this is a button right here that upgrades everything, which is good. You should have that. Very good that this is here. You always need to have upgrade all buttons in games like this. You can press this button, upgrades everything. Now, I can still do upgrades in the second menu. So I go to the second menu, press this button again. I can still make upgrades in this third menu, so I go over here and click this button again. Now, every single time, the menu needs to scroll in and out, and it gets quite tedious how the menu keeps scrolling in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Ugh, I don't like that. Personally, I'm someone who likes it when you can play games a bit faster. So something that I personally would put in, also with the menu up here, like I said earlier, when you have too much of a specific resource, you want to donate that resource to the workshop. And when a resource is full, the workshop actually lights up. The workshop actually does get a bright outline telling you like, hey, you have too much of a resource. Maybe you want to go into this menu and donate that. That's good. But once again, you need to go into the actual menu to do it. And also you have a button that donates everything, but I don't want to donate everything most of the time. I just want to donate that resource that is too much. So of course you can click the individual resource to donate them, but let's say you have like 5 resources that are all full. You're gonna click 5 resources. I don't know. Personally, I would find it a lot better if there was a button that donated every resource that is currently full. That would be perfect. That would be exactly what I want. A button that donates every full resource. Now, how do we go about all of those problems and combine them into one simple solution? So, like I said, we have the button up here that we're missing. We're like donate what's full. We have the menu scrolling in and out all of the time, and we're just clicking one button. I don't even look at the list. I haven't even looked at that list in like 10 hours. I've really just clicked the button. I really just go into the menu, click the button, move on. I don't actually look at the list. So the menu itself is pointless. The menu is pointless. I just want the button. So how do we fix all of that? It's simple. You just put the button outside of the menu. That's how I personally do it. You don't have to do this. Like I said, I'm not a developer. But I personally would think it's a lot more enjoyable and a lot more softer and comfortable to play. And I like comfortable games. And I think a broad audience would also enjoy a game that was more comfortable. Like comfortable games are really good. Like I think the game would be more comfortable if right next to this menu, for example, there was a button that you could press. And it's this button right here. You can take this button and you put it right next to this menu, so you can just, when the menu lights up, you can just click the button and you're done. You don't need to do anything else. It doesn't actually change how you interact with the game, because like I said, when I'm going into this menu, I'm just pressing the button and moving on. I'm not actually looking at the menu. The menu itself is pointless. Just give me the button. Put the button out here. Same up there. You can have a second button. So this button right here, I think this button should still be there. It's a good button. Sometimes I do want to donate everything. So donating everything is totally fine. But I also sometimes want to donate everything that's full. So put a second button there that's just donate everything that's full. And you can then put both of these buttons right out here. I even noticed that there's a lot of space around here. So you can see my mouse, right? There's a lot of space up here in this area, and there's also space to the right here. There's a lot of empty space to the right and to the bottom. So you can take this entire thing, take this all of these resources. You can take all of these resources, shove them to the side, shove them to the right, so this empty space disappears. Shove all of them to the right. Then you have the empty space on the left side, okay? On the left side, you then have space to put the buttons. So you can put the buttons there. Don't make them too big, okay? Don't make them too big. The resources should, of course, still be the main central thing that like pop out at you. You also have enough space up there to put the buttons down. You can also put a button up here that says watch ad. So when you go in here, when you can watch an ad, there's like an ad here that says you want to watch an ad. You can put that button over here. Put that button out here that says watch an ad. Cool. You can also put a button up here that says reset. Actually, maybe not. Maybe don't put that button there because you don't want to accidentally press it. If you accidentally press the button, you would be very sad. So maybe don't put the button there. But you see how there's still space that you could use to make the game more comfortable to play. I think that is something that would be very nice about the game. Something else about the game is something very small. It's very small, and this might not need to be changed, but the shop button lights up all the time when you can buy something. I understand that when you can buy something in any of these other menus, they light up until you buy the stuff, which makes sense. But in this menu, I don't want to always spend my money, right? Maybe I want to save my money for the auto grabber. You know, maybe I want to do that. But the shop keeps lighting up all the time. I also understand that there's a second reason why you might want to light up the shop with real money transaction stuff, but I think personally it would actually be even better, even for that second reason of, you know, real money, haha, to not light up all the time. But whenever you get money or not money, whenever you get gold and you can buy something new, then light it up. Then when you go into the shop and then you close it again, then the button doesn't light up anymore until the next time you get gold, and then the button lights up again. Like every time you get gold and you can buy something new that you couldn't buy before, that's when the button can light up. And if you've got so much gold that you can buy everything in here, like I think what's the highest? The highest of the permanent upgrades at least. Like right now the highest permanent upgrade is 35, okay? So once I have 35 gold, maybe then you can light up the shop every time, because maybe I do want to actually buy something like that. So maybe the shop shouldn't just light up all the time when you've got enough to buy the smallest stuff. Maybe you could be more flexible with when the shop lights up, because it's a bit distracting that it's lit up all the time. But yeah, by like having it lit up, then you go into the shop, then it doesn't light up again, but then when you get some more gold, then it lights up again, and maybe that's also how you can get the player to realize, oh, there's new stuff I can buy. Because if I get more gold now, I won't actually realize that I can buy more stuff. Like let's say I get 10 more gold now, I won't actually realize that I can buy the next upgrade because it's always lit up. That much for that. What else do we have? What is luck? Yeah, that's a good question. Now, I know what luck is. Basically, every time the bar fills, you have a certain percentage to get a bonus amount. So you could think of it as like a critical hit. So for example, I have about 20% chance to get a critical hit for feathers, which gives me luck power as a bonus. So for example, if I get a critical hit for feathers, or we have something where it's a full number, if I get a critical hit for cheddar wood, I get 19 bonus. So in total, I get 31 cheddar wood if I get a crit. That's pretty good. Problem is, I didn't know that for like 10 hours because it doesn't say anywhere what luck is. It doesn't say anywhere what that is. And I also didn't know what that you can even increase luck. Right? You can increase luck. This doesn't increase luck, but right in here, if I mean, let's say I'm on this tab, you need to like scroll through it until you find the lucky. Like these buttons also maybe should pop out a bit more, so you can actually, like the left-right buttons also don't really pop out that much, mostly because there's so much white on the screen that a white button doesn't pop out. That's important. A white button doesn't pop out if everything else is white as well. And also the button isn't 3D enough. If the button was 3D, then also maybe it would pop out. Anyway, and I thought about this. How could you? I don't want you to like put a tutorial in the game where you tell the player for like 10 minutes what everything does. You don't need that. If a player comes in here and they don't know what luck is, what are they gonna do? They're gonna tap it. This is what I did when I came in here. I came in here and I was like, what's luck? And I tapped on luck and nothing happened. Maybe if you tap on these buttons, you can maybe pop up a little information box. So let me, I tap on luck and then out pops an information that says, hey, this is your chance to get a lucky hit. And when you like get a lucky hit, you get bonus of this resource and you get luck power more stuff. This is something where you can say. So you can pop out the information and then you can like close that again, and then you can click on luck power and it says, hey, this is the amount of bonus stuff you get when you get a lucky hit. Nice. You can like tell the player a bit more about everything that happens. And that's really cool. Maybe you can also pop out the actual icons of these objects, because it also took me a long time to even figure out you can click on these. I didn't know you can even click on these icons to get bonus information, but maybe if the icons were a bit more poppy, if they popped out a bit more, then it would have been more obvious that you can actually click on the button and it pops out a bit of information. I think this is something that you might want to look into to make it more obvious what stuff does by giving this little information, and to make stuff pop out more. Like the important stuff needs to be what the player actually sees when they go into a menu. Like when I go into this menu, what do I want to see? Well, the buttons that go left and right, because without these I won't actually, I'm missing a lot of information if I don't see these buttons. And when I click on this, I want to know what this does. That's basically that. What else do I have? The first few minutes of gameplay, like this is, I think, where a lot of people might stop playing the game. Like if you just open the game and you click on, and what you need to do is you need to click on your first bit of wood, and then the bar fills. It takes like 5 seconds, and then when the bar is full, you need to click on it again. You need another wait another 5 seconds, and once you've got 5 wood, you can then buy your first worker, and the very first worker you get will unlock the automatic lumberjacking that you see right now. Like right now it's working automatically, but if you don't pay that first 5 that you get of your first resource, you don't have this automatic mode. And I have to say, it feels really weird to start a new game, click a button, and then be like, okay, I guess I wait 5 seconds now. And you press the button again, it's like, okay, I guess I wait 5 seconds now. This is not a good first impression. This is a terrible first impression, when the first thing you do after starting a new game is wait. For how long is it? At least 25 seconds? If you factor in the fact that maybe you look away from the phone and then you need to press again, and then you need to maybe read some stuff, you look somewhere else on the screen. It takes like 30 seconds of just waiting. What game do you start where you spend 30 seconds waiting, not even reading stuff or looking at stuff, but just pure waiting? Imagine you start Super Mario Brothers, you press the start button, and then there's like a black screen for 30 seconds that you need to wait through. Doesn't feel good. How do you change that without immediately breaking automatic lumberjacking? Because I don't think you should have automatic lumberjacking from the start. It's good that you need to unlock it first, because then it actually feels like an improvement. It feels good to unlock the automatic lumberjacking. But what you can do is, you can click on the stuff to make it go faster, but also you can only click on a resource once you've unlocked it. You need to unlock the tool first until you can click on the stuff. Here's my proposal. Give me the first upgrade, the very first tool. Just give me that right off the bat. As soon as the game starts, you already have the first level of tool for everything. So as soon as the game starts, you can already start tapping. You can already start tapping as soon as you get the very first tool. As soon as the game starts. The game starts, you can already start tapping. You don't have to wait anymore. There's no waiting. You can already start, bam, going right into the tapping. That's really nice. You don't have to wait anymore. You can just go bam, 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 bam. And then you can upgrade the tools, and maybe you can make the tools a bit better. You can make the upgrades better. This is the next bit I'm gonna go into, because the game, like the very first like half an hour to an hour, feels quite good. You unlock new stuff at a good pace. You sort of get into the game. You understand what everything does. That feels good. It feels good to make progress slowly but surely over time. But there comes a time, especially towards the latter half of the arrow crafting, where the game slows down really hard. And then when you get into the bows, the game goes to a snail's crawl. And I mean a snail's crawl even with resetting. Like when you reset and go back in, of course you're better next time, you have these permanent upgrades, but even that doesn't actually help too much. Like it still slows down quite a lot when you get to the bow crafting. It gets really, really slow, and that doesn't feel very nice. And I think a big reason for that is because upgrades, like all of these 3 upgrades that you get, especially the tools, they just don't do that much. They're just really not that great. I think the power upgrade is by far the best. The other 2, like 6% more speed? What do I have for bows? Let me look at what I have for bows. It's like 3% speed. I need, like, this thing on a basic level is 4 minutes. 4 minutes with all the upgrades I have. I have like so many upgrades for this thing already, and it's 3 minutes 42. It's like barely anything. I'm getting barely anything for my upgrades. This thing should be at least under 2 minutes by now, after everything that I've invested into it. Like even this thing starts at like 5 seconds at the start. It's like 4.2 seconds. I've spent like 5 days playing this game and I've only gotten 15% speed for my first upgrade, for my first resource. What? There should be like way more. I'm talking this thing, like at least the first item should be like 50% right now, or like 60%. Like I don't actually feel like I'm making that much progress. It feels good to get an upgrade, but I don't notice upgrades. Upgrades should be noticeable. You should notice when you're playing without the upgrades versus when you're playing with upgrades. You do notice it when you're playing without the workers. Like the workers, the power, you do notice that. It's very obvious when you don't have the power. But I once made a playthrough where I didn't get any training. I didn't get any training and I didn't get any tools. I didn't even notice it. I really didn't even notice I was playing without that. I mean, of course you notice that you get a little bit less of your talent points. Yeah, you do notice you get less talent points. But that's about it. You don't notice anything else. It doesn't feel very nice. It doesn't feel very nice when you get a lot of upgrades and nothing really changes. So the upgrade should be way more powerful, especially the tools. Like, come on. The luck by 2% per... Is it 2% per bar or 2% total? I think it's 2% per bar. Yeah, I think it's 2% per bar. Also the tool... Maybe the tool could be a little bit more powerful, just a little bit, because especially for these really, for the late ones... That's a weird sound. Maybe they could be more powerful as well. So overall, I think upgrades should be more powerful, especially these. If I pay real money for these, which I didn't, but let's say I did, if I did pay real money for these, I wouldn't feel very nice about an upgrade that clicks once every 180 seconds, every 3 minutes, one click, right? Am I reading this wrong? Is this really just one click every 3 minutes? That's not very nice. I think this started out as one click every 2 minutes. I've put 2 upgrade points into it. 116. It went down by 4 seconds. From 120, it went down 4 seconds. That's nothing. That's nothing. If I pay real money for these and all I'm getting is like, it clicks 4 seconds faster. From 2 minutes, it clicks 4 seconds faster. That's nothing. That's peanuts. That's so little. It doesn't feel very nice. I want to actually have bam an impact. I want to get the item and then notice like, whoa, now suddenly everything is so much faster. That's what I want from this. That's also going to make people spend money if they actually realize, oh my god, this actually does something. Right now, it doesn't do enough. It doesn't do enough for you to feel like it's worth it. And it's okay to buff real money. I know there's like weird laws that you're not allowed to, or not allowed to, but it's a bit weird when you have something that you can pay for with real money and then you make it worse, because then everyone who bought it will feel cheated. But you can always make it better. You can always make stuff that people have purchased better. In fact, if you've already purchased something and it gets better, you might feel like, hey, maybe I'll buy that again. Maybe I'll buy more of it now that it's better. It feels good. It feels good. Don't do it too much, but you can go ahead and buy and buff stuff, make stuff better that you can buy for real money. It's okay. And I would definitely make this a lot better, especially the later ones. Especially the later ones should be way better. Like these last 3 ones, oh my god, look at how slow these are. Not very good, not very good. Yeah, that's basically most of what I was gonna say. I know that research isn't included yet. I don't like that research shows gold, because gold, you can't really get that much gold from achievements, because there's not that many achievements. There's not that many, you don't really get that much gold in the game through just playing the game. I think there should be an easier way of getting gold as well. I don't know how exactly, maybe when you get a lot of talents, like let's say for every 50 talent points or whatever you also get 1 gold. Something like that. Something where it feels like there's actually some sort of value to repeatedly play. Because right now, I'm not gonna get that many more achievements. There's gonna be a handful of achievements I'm gonna get, and then I don't really get anything else. And it feels really bad when you can't get more of the premium resource. I know you want people to actually go out and buy the resource, but you also want to make it more appealing to stick around. Because if no one sticks around, no one's going to buy your stuff. You need people to stick around. You need to give out free premium resource so that people stick around. And then maybe sometime later, when people have played the game for like a few weeks, they go, okay, I notice I'm getting the premium resource, but I'm not getting enough. I would like more of the premium resource because it takes me too long to get this bonus, so I'm going to just pay for it. I'm going to just get a bit more. That's totally fine. But if you just start the game out and it's like, okay, you can only get 100 gold. I mean, you can get more. It's just an example. You can only get this much gold and you can't get any more. People who see that are going to be like, well, I guess I'm not going to play the game then. Goodbye. Like, you need to actually get people to stick around, and I think having some sort of reason to keep playing, i.e. having something that repeatedly gives you gold, that would be a good way to keep people engaged, keep people sticking around, keep people playing your game for longer periods of time, because you're going to be like, oh man, I need more of that gold, I need more of that gold so that I can invest it into the research. Oh, nice. And if it goes too slow, like if people don't like it, they go, I guess I might spend like $5 or whatever. It's fine. Something else I want to mention about research though is, like I said, the game slows down later on. Like I said, because the upgrades are too bad, but also because, of course, research is still missing. And I think once research has been put into the game, I think what research should do is it should address this issue that it slows down. So, of course, you, for one, make upgrades better, but secondly, I think research should also make sure that the window where research is effective is at somewhere around the stage where you go into crafting bows. Like, once you go into crafting bows, that's when research should become your main focus, that pushes you to continue playing the game. Because if right now, without research, once I got to bows, it got really slow, and I only really kept playing because I was like, well, I'm gonna like show this game off to people, so I'm gonna keep playing. But the game did get really, really slow. And I think if research comes into play and makes sure that the game doesn't slow down too much and actually keeps going and keeps going forward, that would be really nice. And on that note, I also need to say, like, this is going to be the last thing I'm talking about. This is like way too long already. Last thing I want to talk about is, once you make sure the game doesn't slow down too much, there needs to be something else to work for. Maybe this is also another way to get gold. Maybe you can trade some of your stock for gold. Maybe that would be a nice reason to keep going and keep playing, because you would want to get more gold. But even then, I think there needs to be some long-term goal, because right now I've unlocked the last item, the ballista. And of course I can keep resetting and keep getting more and getting more, but I don't really feel like there's any long-term goal to me anymore. Why should I keep playing the game? I've already unlocked the last bit. Most popular, the absolute most popular idle games, like if you look at like the top 20 most popular idle games, and the top 3 is maybe like Clicker Heroes and NGU Idle, which I'm probably gonna make a game about as well, but NGU Idle, for example, right now is really hot. And NGU Idle, I've played NGU Idle for like over a year. I've really played NGU Idle for over a year. I'm not even kidding. 365 days plus and counting on playtime in that game. And I still have only unlocked like 80% of the content. But because I know there's still more content that I can get to, like more cool stuff, that's how I keep playing the game. But it's not just like, oh, let's say you add another piece of resource. Like, let's say you can turn your bows into something else. That's not enough. I want to have a different type of gameplay. Like, let's say you can now use those bows and go to war. Maybe there's a whole different game mode. This could be like a patch that you do late. You don't need to release the game with this, but maybe your first big patch that you do after like 1 or 2 months of the game being out, once players have settled in a bit, maybe even weeks. I don't know. I'm not too big into mobile games, so I don't know how fast players leave the game. But let's say like after a few weeks, you say, here's the big patch. I'm gonna put this new game mode into the game where you can take all of those bows that you've built and you can go to war with them, and you can conquer different types of land. And in different types of land, you get bonuses for your crafting. So you can go and craft more bows and stuff, and then you can capture more stuff. And when you capture new lands, you also get more gold. Maybe when you capture like really powerful areas, like you conquer a rich area, maybe that rich area gives you a bit of gold each day. Like let's say you conquer a province that has like a big castle, and that province gives you 1 gold each day when you log in. There's also a login bonus. So every day you log in, you get your daily dose of gold from all those provinces you've captured, and that's how you tie everything together. That's how you start really small and you escalate really high, not just from now you got more resources, but also now you're doing something completely different. You've gone from just chopping some wood to ruling a land. And I think that's also something that would appeal to a wide audience. Like if you want to market this game to people, you could say, hey, you start as a lumberjack and you end up as a general who collects taxes from people to make more weapons and conquer more stuff. This is how you can market it to a lot of people and how you can keep people engaged. Of course, like I said, you can't really launch with this because this is a lot of work. I think if you, I don't know if you've already thought about something like this, but if you wanted to create something like this from scratch, it would take a lot of time. It would take a lot of time and effort. You would have to work on this for a long time. I don't think you can just like flick your finger and make it work. It would take a lot of effort, but if you actually end up putting this into the game, not too far from the release, like maybe you give yourself 1 or 2 months, I don't know, or how much longer it would take to get something like this in the game. I think this is how you can keep the game going, keep the game fresh, and make sure people want to stick around. So this is basically how personally, if I was a game developer, I would do it. Like I said, I'm not a game developer. I can just give my ideas, my thoughts. Maybe you thought of something completely different. That's totally fine. Like I said, you're the developer. And all the other viewers, you're the viewers. I hope you enjoyed this. That's basically most of what I wanted to say. Yeah, I think that's mostly everything that I wanted to say. And I'm just quickly, was there anything else? Nope, I think that was about it. Yeah, that said, hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any more questions and anything else you want to talk about, leave me a comment in a comment below. That's where I can most easily see it. Or write me an email. You can do that as well. Whatever. That was, I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you guys next time.